just us?
It's Daria, yeah, Daria will not make it, and Paul is on Zoom.
Oh,
That's everybody.
I guess I should move down then, huh?
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me?
Okay, let's go ahead and kick things off. It's 1 o'clock, so I'd like to call the meeting to order for the January 23rd, 2023 meeting of the Erie Land Bank. And at this time, I would like to seek a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So move.
Second.
All right,
Second.
all in favor? Aye.
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 Next up, we have the minutes from our December 19th meeting. And likewise, I would seek a motion or any comments on, motion to approve or any comments on the minutes from our December meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes. I actually read them. So.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, it takes us to the finance report.
In there you have the year-end balance sheet and profit and loss. The profit and loss is showing a negative net income, and that is just due to the request that was submitted in December for November's reimbursement, and that was not received and deposited until January 18th. So, I mean, technically, if that would have been received before the end of the year, then we would not be showing a negative net income, but as of right now, that's what we have.
So do you anticipate from time to time, based on timing, that, I mean, when you look at the overall year, there's a positive net income, but you
Right.
can have a variation?
Yes,
From something
so
that's
we
due.
have the funds available in the account to pay the vendors that need to be paid, and then we wait for reimbursement after that, and it usually takes a little while, so I'd rather pay our companies that need paid first, if we have access to that.
These kids, when we grandkids, boy, they worse than the damn kids.
I have a question. Just
Sure.
clarification. And is Land Bank part of the Redevelopment Authority's audit, or Land Bank is audited separately or not audited at all?
The land bank is audited separately
Okay.
by Felix and Glucker.
Okay. Same firm, different audit.
Same firm, different audit.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments on the financials? Paul, are you able to hear us?
Yes,
Yeah.
All you're muted. Still muted. Or maybe it's on our end.
can you all hear me?
You there, Paul?
Yeah, I can hear you guys.
Oh,
Okay.
there we go. Now,
There-
Yeah, I can hear
You
you.
have voice now.
Is that loud enough?
Yeah.
thanks, Paul. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't talking over you there and not realizing it. So,
No, I can hear you guys well.
okay.
Thank you.
Okay, I would seek a motion then to approve the financials.
So moved.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Okay, it takes us to citizens' comments. Was there anyone who had signed up to speak or make a comment?
We had nobody reach out and want to address the board, so.
Okay. Very good. Then let's just move right along to a report of the executive director. Aaron?
All right, thank you. So work plan updates, there's 3 work plans now that we're finalizing. Work plan 2021 still has the 3 properties that were appealed to the Commonwealth Court. Gene had sent us an email today notifying us that we received back 2708 Downing. So now once that all sorts itself out in the court system, we will proceed to a hearing of value on Downing Avenue. And he's still working to try to figure out what's going on with 1615 Parade and 405 East 7th Street. But other than that, Mindy's been working through with Marsh as far as the conveyance and finalizing on some of those properties. Any questions on 2021?
Aaron, what came back on Downing?
Down the Commonwealth upheld Judge Piccinini's order and sent it back from Commonwealth Court from Pittsburgh back to Erie County Court.
Okay.
So now we have to wait so Gene can file the petition for a hearing of value in front of Judge Piccinini.
Okay. All right, thank you.
So we'll have a court date set for that, in which time.
Aaron, who's the property owner of that?
That 2708 Downing is Donald Crenshaw. Zach Associates.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Very good.
2022 work plan, just the biggest update on that, we had a hearing last Tuesday to set the value on 24 of the 25 properties we filed condemnation on in June. Judge Bray Bender signed those orders over. One property, they filed a petition for a board of viewers. Gene did not object to that, so Judge Bray Bender is going to set a board of viewers for our property on Locust Street, 221 Locust Street, and Gene can talk more about that. But so that's the biggest. So Mindy's going to work on getting and evaluating those properties, and then getting properties out for demolition bids that, you know, should be demolished, and then we'll work on evaluation of the ones for rehabilitation developer agreements moving forward in the coming month. And then as far as 2023, it's just an updated, Mindy put together a list of the properties we acquired off the judicial tax sale. We now have equitable rights of ownership of those properties, but as Gene has said before, we have a period of about 6 months before we can do anything with those properties. So we'll be working on those ones. That's my report.
Okay, thank you, Aaron. Any questions for Aaron? Paul, you good?
Yes,
Okay. Okay, let's move on then to solicitor's report. Perfect timing.
Good afternoon. Timing is perfect. How's everybody doing? I'll let you take a look at these real quick. Pretty straightforward. Good afternoon, everyone. The first sheet, again, is a breakdown or an itemization of those properties that were acquired as part of the judicial tax sale. As Aaron indicated, we have equity ownership. There's a 6-month waiting time frame to see if there are any objections to the prior owners. So in the meantime, what we've done is we've set up the files, and we're going to initiate the title searches to make sure that the titles are free and clear so that we obtain them, and that what exactly needs to be done, if anything, with regard to quiet title actions. And usually there are some things so that after that time frame has stopped, that we're able to file right away the quiet title actions to clear up those things so that we can then in turn transfer them or whatever that we need to do as the entity, as the land bank. Also, what I wanted, again, on a regular basis is to provide the board with the transactions that we've been involved in and updating those. So there's been great activity, and again, I appreciate all the work that Aaron and Mindy do to help facilitate that, and obviously my staff as well. We have a transaction this afternoon, and we're working on those pending ones as well, so that you can see what we've been doing and what we have been up to transfer these properties and get them back onto the rolls. So that's kind of it. Short and sweet. I'm gonna try to, and I had reached out before to try to get these to the office so that it's part of the board packet again. When I realize that people might be zooming in, it would be nice for them to have my report to read or, to look over prior to. So I'm making an all-out effort here as one of my New Year's resolutions is to make sure that I'm having these to you so that it's part of the board packet in advance of that. So January was not the best, but I'm going to try to make sure that happens going forward. Thank you.
New Year's resolution.
It is one of my many New Year's resolutions that I keep getting reminded about from both my office and my wife. The list keeps growing. So, but thank you.
Thank you for putting it into a snapshot here.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I want everybody to be able to have it in advance. It's hard to, to review it and ask meaningful questions when you're just seeing it. So I don't want anybody to feel like, okay, this is a surprise, and so that's what I'll try to do going forward. Thank you.
Okay, let's move on to unfinished business and new business.
All right, so first up is the Erie Land Bank and the management agreement between the Erie Land Bank and the Redevelopment Authority of the City of Erie. As you're aware, we presented this in December. There was some requests for some modifications and amendments to that. So this is the amended agreement. The biggest changes, one is under number 4, I'm sorry, direct staff costs. The verbiage has been changed to add an exhibit that is attached, and that the rates are subject to change. As you're aware, this is a 1-year agreement renewable on a 4 additional years, so it's really a 5-year term. So to consider the exhibit wouldn't update over 5 years, so we added that language so that the Exhibit A can be updated as staffing costs change over the 5-year period. And then there was added a sentence to B under number 4, just as far as our general administrative expenses and office supplies, that at no time will the cost exceed the yearly adopted budget categories that the board approved without prior authorization from the Land Bank Board. So without a budget modification or anything like that, we would never exceed our approved budget allocation for those categories. And then the Exhibit A is attached with the Redevelopment Authority staff positions and hourly rates as of January 2nd, 2023.
I have a question. Where you talk about the portion of the authority's administrative expenses and different things like that, that's not part of the Exhibit A?
No, administrative, like office supplies, copy lease, things like that are not paper.
I guess normally something like that should, be included into the agreement. I mean, a starting point or a maximum amount not to exceed. All of that actually should probably be a part of the Exhibit A if we're paying general administration expenses.
Well, we're paying an hourly rate for the staff, and then shared cost of use of equipment and fees, things like that.
I guess my only concern would be is that there isn't a dollar amount for that. I mean,
Well, the copier fee changes on a monthly basis based upon usage. So that, really, we could put down what we're charged, but ultimately that is subject to change based upon, you know, monthly usage and cost and ink and whatever Hagan else throws on top of that.
And so I guess for last year, was there like do you have like what that total amount may have been from like last year? So that we'd have an idea of what the cost may be?
Last year, office supplies was billed to Work Plan 2022, $139.17 out of an allocated budget of $2,500.
So there is a budget, I mean, I guess this agreement, there's a budget that you do have that's
Yeah.
not attached to here?
Yeah, there's a budget, so the land bank budget that's approved every year is really our work plan budgets and is what we basically draw down off of, you know, on a monthly basis from the Erie County Land Bank as far as our agreed upon work plan.
And then you said, okay, so this is a 5-year contract, and so each year you'll come to the board to, I guess, request an update for the exhibit for the different employee costs that are on Exhibit A?
Yeah, every January there'll be an updated Exhibit A.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable.
Yeah, I mean, and I agree with you, a lot of times you see that broken out, but we do have a budget that we approve and
Okay.
out in that line item, so as long as there's a not to exceed, not to exceed
Okay, that's
statement
fine.
in there, that, you know,
Yep.
obviously, I appreciate the modifications. Any other,
So this is good to sign then? This agreement?
it's good to see the motion. Approve it, and then we'll sign it. All, any comments on the agreement?
No. Debbie, your question was answered?
Yes, they did answer my question.
Okay, thanks.
Make a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion to approve the agreement as written.
Second.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay. Thanks again for the modifications.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And let's go move on into number 2, the lot on 7.
Okay, just one vacant lot proposal. It's for 1436 East 7th Street, Daniel Madura. He lives next door. It would be a side yard or off-street parking for him. He doesn't have any past due taxes, blighted properties, or any issues known there, so. And he offered the minimum bid, which is 500, so.
He owns that, or is he renting?
No, he owns that, yep. Yeah, I don't think any issue with it, so. Okay.
All right, make a motion to approve Mr. Murray's offer.
For 500.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Aye.
Okay, disposition, 743 safety.
Yes. Do you want me to go over it? or-
Yeah,
Okay.
why don't you go over it and we can talk about it.
Okay, so 743 East 18th Street is one of the properties that we just had the final hearing on. It did have an appraisal of a 0 value. There is a structure on the property. The property is landlocked by Pro Waste. They have all the properties around it. They came in to talk to us basically when it was declared, or the declaration of taking was done. They've been keeping people out of the building and they put their proposal in for it. They are willing to demo the building themselves without the cost to us, and purchase the property for $1,000. And I know it's not our usual process for doing this, but I don't see the property being of any value to anyone else in the area, since they are already fully encompassing it. So they did give us their proposal for the property, and I did attach an email from him saying that they would be willing to accept the property with the building on it and go under contract, knowing that they would demolish it, so.
And is there intent to keep it residential, or will this become part of a business, or?
They're just gonna add it to their portfolio. It is literally right next to the one warehouse that they have, that they store a lot of their dumpsters.
Okay.
It's a very odd piece of property for where he's at now. No, no.
I don't think there's any residential properties on that block
Not that I
anymore.
think we need it in this case, but how do we enforce in a contract that someone's going to demolish within a certain amount of time? Are we gonna hold back in escrow, or what does that look like?
That is, and that's something we'll have to talk to Gene about, and we had talked to the Cuyahoga County Land Bank, and they do a deed in escrow, so we gotta talk with Gene. That came up last Thursday, whether or not we can facilitate that to where the land bank doesn't necessarily relinquish deed until they satisfy their requirement. But we gotta work with Gene on that and see what we're legally allowed to do in the state of Pennsylvania.
And Mr. Gamble was asking something too. What was your question?
Yeah, there's no other residential structures on that block, are there?
No.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
They've torn them all down already.
Yeah. It's really
Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, it makes sense to just go ahead with it, whatever you can do, Aaron and Gene.
Yeah, we would make sure there was something in the contract to guarantee that they did demolish it within the time frames and things, so.
Yeah, I don't think in this case it's in their interest to leave it either, but it raises a good,
No, I mean, they
Point.
boarded up the building whenever
Yeah.
people were breaking into it, so they've actually been caring for it to a certain
Okay.
extent for us as well.
so should we develop that mechanism before approving this, or are we comfortable?
I think, I would say I'm comfortable with Pro Waste following through.
Because of this
and-
specific situation?
Yes.
And I think we have the resources, we just have to determine which one we'll use with this contract, cause like you said, do we hold the deed in escrow, or do we attach a maintenance agreement to it? Like the developers agreements all get stating that they have to do that with the escrow, so.
Okay, I mean, I would be comfortable as well because of the specific situation, but moving forward, then maybe we can develop that mechanism. Because this is great if they're willing to do the work for us and,
Right.
take the property, so. Okay. All right, can I get a motion then to approve, the offer for 813 East 18th? Or, I'm sorry, 743 East 18th.
I move that we, accept the offer at 743 East 18th Street.
I'll second it.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Okay, let's have it. Number 4. Just a modification.
So in front of you is section 6, our side lot disposition program as part of the land bank's policies and procedures. So we're bringing this up for board discussion, really based upon, just to kind of give the board a reminder overview of how it works. So the land bank under legislation has the ability, it's called the 550. So for 5 years, we can collect 50% of the tax revenue off of a property. We have the side lot disposition program, intended for, adjoining property owners to acquire properties, that are adjacent to theirs. The tax value on those parcels is typically in the $100 range, so every year we have the potential to get you know, $75 off those parcels. The problem is that we hold that property and restrict them from combining it for 5 years. That causes a couple problems in the city of Erie. They cannot build an accessory structure, put a shed on it, build a garage, do anything such as that to that parcel for that 5-year period because it does not have a house on it. So we're prohibiting them from improving that parcel for 5 years with our deed restriction. And then on the other hand, those parcels, in order to get that 50% tax, you know, that $75, the administrative cost behind following through with all of those is a cost to the land bank, along with the possibility that these parcels could eventually become tax delinquent again and end up on judicial tax sale and back in the repository. Because if a homeowner sells it and or becomes defaulted at any point and they stop paying the taxes, this is a standalone parcel and subject to those issues. It is the recommendation that we move more toward stipulating that these side lots are combined with the existing parcel to create one new parcel. It allows them to develop the parcel and then also alleviates the ability that would then become a tax delinquent parcel back onto the city or the county's responsibility at some point down the road. Mindy, did you want to add anything?
I would just say that it also, you had already touched upon it, but you know, the keeping track of these parcels for the 5 years, there hasn't been a good system in place yet to be able to keep track of those, and it would be a little time consuming to do so the more that we see these going out, to keep track of those for the 5 years and make sure that we're getting the $75 per lot on each of them, so. And I will say that there have been a lot of people that have bought vacant lots that want to put a fence up, want to build a garage, want to do those things, that why we're encouraging these lots to be purchased in the first place, and they're not being able to do that because they can't combine them with their own parcel.
So I get that. We don't wanna get in the way of somebody improving or combining. I mean, that's why we're doing this. How much revenue are we giving up? A few thousand? I mean, I also don't wanna just.
On every parcel, I mean, you're giving up
collectively, let's say in an annual budget, what do we?
an annual budget, if they pay the taxes on the parcel, which last year we had 3 side lot owners who did not pay the taxes on the parcel. Last year, I believe it was about $1,300 on all of our vacant lots that we had conveyed. Across the board, that's including county, city, and school taxes.
Okay.
Hey, Aaron, those 3 people that didn't pay, are they delinquent in their housing? I guess taxes as well?
That I don't have an
Payments
answer for,
as well?
Paul. I'd have to look.
Are we catching potential issues sooner because we're tracking this right now?
What,
Issues as far as,
Well, I mean, if somebody, I'm just trying to think this through. What do we, aside from the small amount of revenue, what are we giving up? Are we giving up like a bit of monitoring here, or?
no, I mean, we really.
In a way, this is, you're sort of also seeing if they're, right, I mean, you're keeping an eye on it because you're kind of forced to at this point, or am I not looking at that?
No, we really, once we convey the lot to an adjoining property owner as the land bank, we don't follow up with them. I know now we're filing maintenance agreements on them to make sure that they maintain them, but that's more for, if they abandon it, we could revert it back. But ultimately, we don't want that lot back. I mean, financially, we don't wanna, that continuing burden of maintaining and mowing these every year. I mean, the cost to mow these lots far exceeds our revenue back
Right.
on probably 3 of them.
So we are we are making sure they're maintaining the lots now. Right?
Yeah, I mean, on a yearly basis, when we file the invoice to the taxing bodies, we know whether they're paying their taxes and doing that. We find that information out. I mean, we're not checking up on code violations or such unless it becomes a major issue. We had talked, I know there was our state land bank network meeting back in early October. I had brought up the question to ask how many land banks do what we do with side lots. The consensus across the land bank network was that why don't you just have them combine them with their parcels? A lot of them,
Right.
they're, because I had questioned whether or not, any of them have a buyout on their deed restriction. And again, they said, well, we just make them, combine it with their existing parcels, so.
Which is more favorable to us, of course, but it's expensive for the landowner because it requires attorney's fees and.
Yeah. Gene, what's a cost to, what would you think the average cost to combine one of these side lots with an existing parcel?
It would be, as far as the owner of the house next door who's bought the side lot, it's probably, he's gonna have it's probably gonna be about $500. He's gonna have a deed preparation, he's gonna have a deed prep fee. There really is not gonna be any transfer taxes because he already owns the lot with the house on it, and all he's doing is integrating property, so it's called a combination deed, $350 and a recording fee of $86. I think this is a great.
So you think if they did it at the closing, it would be an additional $350 is what you're thinking?
Probably,
Okay.
probably to do that, because we pull the deed on the house next door and integrate the two descriptions onto one. I think this is a great idea.
Yeah.
If I was a property owner next to this, I would want it integrated.
Yeah.
Hey, I've got the house next to it, I've got an empty lot next to it, you're telling me for 5 years I can't. The idea is to get them together so that they can use them as one big unit.
Right.
And I think probably what would happen as well, when that combination deed happens, there's gonna be a reassessment of those real estate taxes, so you're probably gonna see a higher real estate tax return on the two lots together. So it's gonna help the taxing bodies to have them integrated into one, because you're really adding value to the house. So I think it really is, I hate cliches, but it really is kind of a win-win for everybody involved.
Yeah, I mean, I like the idea as well. I'm just trying to think it through. I don't want to jump to a decision here. I'm trying to.
The downside is it's gonna cause the property buyer to pony up a few extra dollars at closing.
As long as that
but it's
doesn't
done.
dampen demand, as long as
It's
it
not
doesn't,
costing.
because we have talked in the past where if you're living next to a lot and you're sort of using it already, I mean, we always face that too, but.
And the time to do it is at the time of transfer,
Yeah.
because 3 years later, they're not gonna strike a check for $500 or whatever, so it's.
But it
Right.
ultimately is better though if these get combined and cleaned up.
Yep.
I mean, there's nothing that says we can't, if there's an unintended consequence, reverse this, right? Go back to our current practice. So, I mean,
It makes
I'm
sense,
okay with it too. I just wanted to talk it through a little bit.
Right, right. And the way I look at it, we put it on the agenda for discussion, your recommendations as far as what the policy would be, then we would put together the actual new policy section for the board to vote on next month. So,
So would we then, we would want that done at closing, or would we give them 30 days, or what?
I think you do it at closing.
at closing,
because
right?
it's-
So that we don't
yeah.
have to follow up and,
Exactly.
They come in,
Yeah.
they sign, and we're all done.
Typically, when we're doing these, they are using March Law Firm. A few of the people have had their own attorneys that they wanted to use. So it just becomes, they're gonna take care of this, this, and this, and I'm giving them a breakdown of what the costs that are associated with it as
Good.
well, so. They know that upfront when they're signing the sales agreement, so there's no surprises for them.
Very much easier to do it right at the closing. I'll have
yeah.
I have all the information, just secure a copy of their deed for the house next door, and it's all in our system, so we'll be able to generate that combination deed right then and there.
Okay. Good. All right, I like it. So you want us to approve a motion that you create this?
Yeah,
Language
to
for-
amend the policies and procedures subject to board vote next month or at the next meeting.
Okay, then I would seek a motion to amend the policy procedures moving forward.
I move that we amend, our policies and procedures
For side lots.
for side lots. Sorry about that.
And I'll second that motion.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, that takes us to other business.
That is all. Just an update on the Community Land Trust. We met again last Friday. We basically have a business plan developed. We're gonna finalize a few of the details within that. We're gonna try to start shopping it around to some of the local groups as far as some financial support to help get some seed money for the Community Land Trust to move forward. Still waiting on the Keystone, I believe it was a Keystone Communities grant that we applied for late last year that would hopefully provide again the land trust some seed money to hire an executive director and start its operations as far as developing, and collecting a group of affordable properties across Erie County. And then we're probably gonna have, along with our consultant, from Burlington and Associates, a time where we're gonna invite Land Bank board members, Redevelopment Authority board members, and a lot of the other involved board members of the neighborhood groups, where you'll all be able to come to a meeting virtually or in person and ask any questions and kind of get a very detailed overview of Community Land Trust and how they operate and how the land bank and the authority, and we can all work together to move these properties into a more affordable, productive use. So look for that probably next month. Probably we're thinking maybe March for that joint meeting
Okay.
at this point.
That could provide some very valuable input and feedback. It's a good idea.
Yeah,
Okay. All right, you good, Aaron? Any other business?
that's it.
Good? Okay. Panel?
I'm fine.
Deb? Paul, you have any other questions or comments?
No, I'm good.
You good? Okay, hearing none, then I believe we can adjourn. Thank you.